who's researching this? Who's looking for a cure?
There hasn't been very much done at all. The Institute of Medicine issued a report in February of this year where they said there's been a paucity of research outside the areas of psychiatry, and there's been remarkably little research funding. And as a result, there's only $5 million spent a year by the NIH on this disease.
Out of the enormous federal budget,
right.
$5 million.
$5 million out of $31 billion. Now what's important to realize is this disease has an economic impact of $19 to $24 billion a year, which is roughly 4,200 times as much as the NIH spends each year on research.
Why has it been so reluctant to put its money where it should?
There's a lot of reasons for that. For one thing, the disease became psychologicalized, meaning that it, by and large, across mainstream medical research, was assumed to be a psychological disease. And there is an active group primarily out of England that has researched it as a psychological disease, and their perspective is that this disease has been caused by patients developing a fear of activity, and as a result of that, they become deconditioned, and then they have symptoms that are associated with this disease. And that has driven a lot of the research that's been done. And so that has, number one, that has caused people to disbelieve the disease and believe that it's real. The other factor that's played a big role in this is that NIH has consistently not provided any funding. And the advisory council that has advised the NIH and HHS on this has requested more money, because what has happened because of the lack of money is that researchers have stayed away. They can't get money, they're going to go someplace else where they can get money.
That is an issue that this program has examined before.
Right.
Not always about medicine, but where the government doesn't provide money and it should, or it provides it and takes it away, the talent doesn't come.
The talent doesn't come.
Why would you go on a disease that is poorly financed and where after 2 or 3 years of intensive labor, suddenly there's no money and you have to find a new job?
And this is a really well-known problem that a number of researchers and advisory committees have raised. The other issue, which is a huge issue in this disease, is NIH is organized into institutes. And those institutes are responsible for defining their strategy for each of the institutes and prioritizing where they are going to spend their money. In the case of this disease, it's been exiled outside of all the institutes. It's an orphan, essentially, outside of all the institutes. So if the institutes are the ones that decide where to spend money and you're not part of an institute...
So where does it, what little there is, the $5 million, where does that endeavor reside?
What happens is that the Office of Research on Women's Health is where this disease resides, and it goes to each...
But men get this as well as women,
Women get this as well. Men get this as well. My son got this. But what that office does is it doesn't have a budget for this disease. It has to go to the other institutes to try to get them to spend some money.
How come this structure, and why doesn't the head of NIH, Dr. Collins, do something about this?
It's a very good question. The CIFSAC in August of this year.
CIFSAC is this advisory committee.
Right. They recommended that it be put into the National Institute for Neurological Diseases, but nothing has happened yet. We're certainly hopeful that that would happen. The other institute that needs to play a key role in this is the Institute for Immunological Diseases, where AIDS is housed right now, because that institute, each of them have provided a small amount of funding, but not nearly enough to drive the kind of research that needs to be done to make advances.